Hi, my name is Ashley Bailey, and today I'm going to show you how to create a gradient in Adobe Illustrator. So I will walk you through the process. First, we need to set up artboards, and to do that, you're going to go to File, Document Setup, and then select artboards. And from there, you can create multiple artboards. In this case, I'm creating several, so you can see different artboards and kind of see how that is going to work. But you just can either click plus, or you can go to Window and Artboards, and you can create new from there. But whatever the case may be, you want to make sure your artboard's set to the dimensions of what you're trying to ultimately export. So if you're trying to create a YouTube background or something like that, you're going to come in there and change your artboard settings under the Properties panel to 3840 by 2160. That's 4K. Or you can change it to whatever properties you need for, if it's an Instagram reel, that would be different or whatever. And then you're going to come in here and you're going to actually drag a square onto your artboard so that Illustrator has a place of reference to put the gradient that we create. And then if you cannot see your gradient panel, you're going to go up to Window and you're going to select Gradient. And from there, you will see the options that you have available. I always select the default gradient because that just gives me something, that's placed onto that square so that I can see, okay, now I've got a place of reference. And then from there, you'll see that you can click the end point and the start point of whatever colors you want to apply to this gradient. I enjoy, creating maybe something on the same spectrum. So I do like a monochromatic look a lot of times. So I'll create a dark green and then a light green. And that gives me, just kind of a smooth transition. And then from there, you'll see that you can click and drag various points onto the gradient as well. Like if you wanted to add additional colors. So I'll show you here that I'm just going to add a brown to this gradient just to show you that you can do that. This is used for like when you're trying to create like a metal texture or something like that has like a lot of different prism effects to it that have different colors. But then if you want to delete those additional colors, you can just click and drag them out of the spectrum right there. So you just do that. And then, of course, by default, it's a linear gradient and it's left to right. But you can change your directions if you want to. You can change it so that it's vertical or horizontal or diagonal, whatever the case may be. And then once you find something you like, you can come over here to the Save Gradient section, and what that's going to do is it's going to create a gradient swatch for you so that you can always come back to it whenever it's something that you want to use later. And then there's two additional types of gradients that you can use. There's the one that I really like, which is the Freeform gradient. I'm going to click this first because I'm excited to show it to you. But basically what that does is it creates a 3-color or even 4-color gradient of white, black, and then the colors that you initially selected. And so you can click these points and you can move the different colors around the spectrum of the location. So this is really useful for like art applications and things like that. But however you want it to look, you have full control at this point. Now you can come up here to a radial gradient. Radial gradients are often used when you're trying to fade out something in a photo in Illustrator. You're going to have that white-black gradient, and so it has like a focal point, and then it has like the areas of the photo that it's going to fade out. And so if you want that to be a harsher or more defined transition, you can click that midpoint up at the top of the gradient slider, and you'll see how that affects the different colors in the gradient. So there are several different ones, but like I said, I tend to stay at the Freeform gradient section because I just really like how that looks. I hope you enjoy and you enjoy creating gradients for your applications, however the case may be. When you're ready to export, go to File, Export, Export As, And from there, you can actually give it a range of which artboards you want it to export. So in this case, I have, artboard 3, 4, 5, and 6. Whichever ones I want it to export, I can either hit all or I can give it a range. I can give it 2 to 3, and then I will export just those particular artboards. And presto! Now you have everything you need to create video backgrounds, social media ads, whatever you might be creating with the gradients in the Illustrator. Have a great day.